Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I just wanted to kind of address the topic for today, and I thought about there's so many things you could talk about, right? Just to get ready for Ramadan. And I think you're going to hear, if you're in this community or any community, you'll hear from this point forward maybe khutbahs and talks. There's stuff online. A lot of people are gearing up, right? Because the month is right around the corner. So there's a lot of great advice already that's going to be given to you, inshallah, and hopefully that will help you. But I kind of was thinking, what's a way that we can, kind of keep things in perspective, not just for Ramadan, but also just starting now, right? It's pre-Ramadan, and beyond. So what are some advices or some things that we can discuss? So I came up with sort of an acronym, which I'll share with you. But before I jump in, how many people know the word ilm? What does the word ilm mean in Arabic? Ilm. Knowledge. Very good. So ilm is knowledge, right? And Ilm, would you mind, I'm so sorry, while I read, could you please help me on the board? Okay, if you can write, because the acronym, I want to kind of just write it for you so then we can refer to it. So, right, perfect. So if we can do I and then maybe an L underneath it. Yes. So we're going to use ilm because I want it to stick, right? So get that sticky factor so you just remember it. So I thought, let's break this word down. Obviously we know knowledge, right? And that's all of us, whether we're new Muslims or people born into this faith, this is part of our journey that we're constantly striving to learn and that we're in the pursuit of knowledge, right? That's what we should strive for every day, wherever we are in our journey. So that's why I thought this was an appropriate, and it's quick, right? So it's something hopefully we can remember. So the first point I wanted to talk about was the I, and so the word that I used for I was intention. Okay, intention. Every day it's so critical that all of us, and this is part of the path, again, no matter where you are, new or been on it for a while, that you start your day with niyyah, with intention. And that you really think about that. And that can happen if you're lying in bed, before your Fajr alarm goes off, or after it goes off and you're waiting for the snooze to come back and you're just thinking. But to really have that moment of reflection where you think about what you want from your day, right? What is the day ahead of you going to look like? Because this is, for all of us, it's a journey that we're on, but every day we have to take it day by day, right? For some of us, as we said, mashallah, that iman fluctuates, right? Some of us, we're going to wake up and we're going to have those days where we're going to we feel so much inspiration to do things, or there might be something to look forward to. Maybe there's an event, like right now, alhamdulillah, we're all looking forward to Ramadan, so naturally those feelings are there, and we want to learn, we want to get ourselves straight, right? So that's kind of, part of the process, that you're going to have days like that, where you wake up with that kind of, strong resolve, and then there's other days where, yes, you're going to struggle. And to remember that this is perfectly normal. And I remember when I was studying, our teacher, he used the analogy of a staircase, that steps. You're going to have moments where you rise and then moments where you kind of just plateau. Moments where you rise, moments where you plateau. And as long as you're in this upward sort of moment or movement, don't push yourself. And I think it's very natural, even myself, I shared with you that I wore hijab after 2 weeks. And I realized after I did it, and because I'm so stubborn, I didn't want people to go, see, we told you so, you wore it, you're going to take it off. For that reason, I kept it on, but I struggled with hijab for a while because I realized it was way too fast, So if anybody in the room, has been through that, where people are pressuring you to do things at a pace where you're not ready, you have to pace yourself, because the intention matters more than the outward, right? We can all put on the costume, right, of being super Muslim. We can all look the part. We can walk into the masjid and, look like we've been here all day. But if in the heart there's, a disconnect and we're not feeling it, then none of this is going to matter. So the most important thing, and that's why, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, this is one of the most widespread and well-known hadith. It's one of the first hadith of Imam an-Nawawi's collection. And there's different kind of collections of hadith, but this is a very popular text that many people study. But it's one of the first things, even little children, they teach the importance of intention. So for us to really think about that. So I really recommend Does anybody know what a wird is? The word wird? And I'm sorry, would you write this down also? Yeah. So a wird is the Arabic word for a litany. And so those of you from the Catholic tradition or from Christian traditions, litanies, are formulaic prayers. And so, you might have a rosary that a certain sort of formula of prayers that you do, right? Or that you knew as a child. So they teach this, in Sunday school or in church. They also teach it in synagogues and mosques, but this idea that you should have something that you commit to as a prayer that you do every day. So in Islam, there are litanies available to you, and a lot of our scholars recommend us doing them every single day. What these litanies do is they help you with the intention, because all of the things that you want from your day are covered. They're all from the Sunnah. So all of the prayers and the litanies are actual du'as that the Prophet ﷺ taught us. But what these scholars throughout history did, and you'll have different scholars throughout history have their own litanies, right? So what they did is they looked at the different du'as, whether it's when you wake up, when you go to the bathroom, when you put on your clothes, when you look at yourself in the mirror, when you dress. Because mashallah, pretty much every part of our day, there's a dua for it, right? And so what they did is said, well, let's, create this formula where it's just, concise. It's something easy, to memorize, and then they, put it in the text. And alhamdulillah, we have access to that. So there are litanies that you can do that take about 10 to 15 minutes a day, and our scholars recommend that you start your day with them. So after you pray your Fajr prayer, sitting on the prayer mat, or just, like for me in my household, we actually play, there's an audio version of it, so I'll just play it when I'm making breakfast. My eggs, scrambled eggs, coffee, but the whole house is, we have, if you have the, Alexa or any of those speaker systems in your house that kind of can, that's nice, everybody's listening to it at the same time. What do the du'as cover? They cover your day. So there's du'as for protection from everything from stress, anxiety, from any type of danger, from things that we don't really think about that we should. Debt, right? Is debt not one of the biggest stressors of our life? So imagine every single day you start your day by asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect me from debt, without really thinking about it, right? Because it's something that you're just doing, you're memorizing it. Of course you can read it in English and get the meaning of it, but it's sort of like I'm checking it off my list of worries that I might think about, or might, later it might affect me in my life. Health, asking Allah to protect your health, or protect your children, your family, your extended family, and then asking Him for the good of the day and protecting you from whatever evil or dangers are out there. So all of these are covered in these litanies. You get it done, 10-15 minutes, boom, you go to work, you go to school, you go take care of your mom, you go shopping, you leave your home. But what have you just done? You've created, like, I kind of like to imagine things, so I kind of imagine like there's this force field, this bubble that I've just sort of protected myself with, spiritual bubble, that when I walk out the door, I now feel better. I have solace. And my kids now, alhamdulillah, they're 6 and 9, but they understand that this is a part of our routine. So and it's happened before where I'm rushing out and I forget, and they go, Mom, we didn't do the whip, the litany. So I'll go, well, alhamdulillah, it's on YouTube, play it in the car. So there we go, on our drive, wherever we're going. But what I love about it, again, is what recenters you to your intention. I'm starting my day knowing my purpose, knowing that Allah's given me life, and that's why the first dua that you make when you open your eyes is what? Gratitude that you lived through the night, right? Because it's like, wow, there's a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that sleep is the little brother of death, right? Every night when we sleep, it's like, it's almost like we're visiting, in a way, death, because there's this period of time where we're doing nothing, right? We're completely incapacitated in a way, but then Allah revives us. He gives our soul life again. So we wake up, boom. It's another opportunity to worship Him, another opportunity to serve Him, another opportunity to spread light. So being so grateful for that, but then at the same time, making sure that you're protected. So that's why the intention is so important. Anybody have any questions about that? And I can give you the actual sources on YouTube, how to find these prayers. There's PDF files where you can print it. It's very easily accessible. I mean, there's books too you can buy, but if you want it, everything's alhamdulillah now available online, free, boom, print, and then the YouTube videos. Yes, assalamu alaikum. Welcome.
Thank you. So I know I've heard that there's a witr prayer at nighttime.
Yes.
So is that?
It's a different.
Okay.
Yeah, witr is a special prayer that you do at night. But this is the wird. Wird is just the Arabic word for litany. So that's completely different. And this is, you'll see it. I wish I had brought my other bag, but I actually have it. Where it's just it's like a list of different du'as that you say, and then there's like you say them at different amounts. So some of them you say 3 times, 4 times, 7 times, but you just keep repeating it, and then you're done in about 10-15 minutes. But the meanings are all there, and it's really actually. And actually maybe after the event I can pull it up for you just for you to visualize it and see it, and you'll see the meanings and how they just they're du'as for protection. So it's like, wow, I wouldn't even think of praying this for myself, and alhamdulillah, it's all there, and all I have to do is repeat it, and it's like it makes it all so easy instead of struggling to think about all the things that could happen to you and all the things that you're the worries and stresses of life. It's all done for you, and you just repeat it, walk out, like I said, and you're clear. So yeah, I'll provide more details, inshallah. Okay, thank you.
Is there a specific one you recommend?
Yes. Yes, the one that most of our scholars recommend, which is easy and it's easy to find, especially online, is called Al-Wird Al-Latif, and this is by Imam Al-Haddad, and you can actually find it on YouTube. You can find it the PDF files, like I said, which are easy to print. I can send those as well. The link for you guys. But again, this just makes it so easy to center yourself. And then also, as I said before about intention, when you really get this key concept down, you realize that the outward isn't as important as the inward, right? The outward form is not as important as the inward reality. Sometimes we can get caught up with the outward form of things, and we forget, for ourselves and for other people. And I know this from experience with working with converts, is that, and even myself honestly, that it can get disheartening because you have a lot of high expectations, right? You think like, this faith is so beautiful and I love it, and I'm so in love with everything and it's so amazing, and then you see Muslims behaving in a way where you're like, what, right? And it's like, how does that make any sense? It can get disheartening. But when you realize that, that don't get caught up with the form. Don't get caught up with names. Don't get caught up with, oh, they've been Muslim for so long, or they wear hijab, or they have a beard down this. No, we're all struggling. Every single one of us. And we're struggling at varying degrees. So when you really realize this, like I said, it helps you. So don't get caught up with this, and work on the inside. I'll just share a quick story just to let you explain how this really came for me, and kind of hit me, this lesson. I was practicing for a while, and I was all about form. I used to wear Islam at that time was very much about how you looked, so not only did you have to wear hijab, but you had to wear it correctly, and then you had to wear, it was very, it was just a different message then about looking very Muslim. So I used to walk around all black. Like I would wear, jilbab and hijab, and I would have no makeup on. I was just like, nothing, no smile. No, actually, intentionally, I would not smile. I'm not kidding. And I had friends who would be like, Hosai, why do you walk around like this? Because I was on college campus, and I'm just like, and I would say, I said, because I want the kuffar to know I'm not afraid of them.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I used to walk around with that kind of energy. Can you imagine how un-Islamic that really is when you start to understand? But I just thought it was a very interesting way of practicing back then. So I used to walk around like that, and I used to judge people all the time for how they weren't dressed the way that I thought they should dress. And I'm someone, again, I thought I was on the right path, and I thought this is what Islam is. One day I was at Oakland Airport, and I share this story just to show you again how this hit me. I was at Oakland Airport, and I was waiting for a ride. This car pulls up, and this lady walks out. She's like, typical white American, woman, and she's wearing like a tank top and shorts, like short shorts. And of course, I'm sitting there in my all black gear, jilbab, and I'm just like, I've got like daggers coming out of my eyes towards this lady. I'm like, look at her, look how she's dressed. Like, what is this? It's ridiculous. I have all these terrible thoughts in my mind, and I swear to you, this happens. She, because she's in her, she has the trunk open and she's moving stuff in her car. This is where all these thoughts are coming. She sees me, And she like looks right at me, and I was like, oh dang, you know, like, are my thoughts out of my head? Like, are they, you know, is she hearing my thoughts? Like, it just felt very awkward to see this woman that I'm thinking about all these terrible things looking at me, because it's a bustling airport, a lot of people, you know, a lot of traffic. But she looks right at me, and then she closes her trunk and she walks like directly towards me. And I was like, oh my God, like my heartbeat was like boom, 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 like what is gonna happen now? And this is what comes out of her mouth, Assalamu alaikum. And she's like, I know I don't look like a Muslim. I'm actually really embarrassed the way that I look right now. I converted to Islam, and she starts telling me her story, and she's just like so humble, so timid, and just really feeling, you know, shy. But she's like, I felt compelled to talk to you because, you know, I'm raising my son Muslim, and I don't have any information. I saw you, and I thought it was like a sign from God that maybe I should come talk to you and ask you for books, like references for books. And you can imagine what's going on inside of me, right? So this is what I call, you know, those, you know, life-changing moments. Absolutely. Like, I felt like I just got hit in the face, because from the outward, just looking at, examining the two, you know, people would assume a lot of things about me and assume a lot of things about her, but the realities were so far, right? Here she's someone who's seeking, who's humble, who's coming with that soft, gentle heart, and here I am on my high horse thinking I was something, you know? So it really did wake me up, and that was a turning point for me to realize, like, all these years, like, you've been worrying about this. So that's why this intention matters so much, because if it's all for naught, you know, if it's all means nothing, if it's not done with the right intention. So we have to remember that every day, every single day. So we started with ilm. The next one, L, and we're just doing an acronym to kind of, again, help us, you know, have a takeaway from this session so that we can apply it starting today and then onward, inshallah, into Ramadan. The next one stands for lead, okay? You know, in the Quran, in the Surah Baqarah, verse 30, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a beautiful exchange that happens between Allah and the angels when He, you know, decides to tell them that He's created, you know, Adam alayhi salam. And he says here, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون. And he says, and mention, O Muhammad, when your Lord said to the angels, indeed, I will make upon the earth a successive authority. And they said, will you place upon it one who causes corruption therein and sheds blood while we declare your praise and sanctify you? Allah said, indeed, I know that which you do not know. I love this ayah because it is such a beautiful confirmation of our potential, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is confirming for us that we have the capacity, we have the capability to surpass even the angels, right? He's telling them, because they're like, we worship you, we do nothing wrong. And you're going to put this human that's going to do all of this and claim him as, you know, your vicegerent or your, you know, this successive authority. Like, and he says what? I know that which you do not know. So this should build our confidence that no matter how many times you fall, it's okay. This is not about perfection. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't expect perfection from any of us. He expects us to strive and to keep returning. And that's why there's so many beautiful hadith that remind us that if Allah wanted to make all of us perfect, He would. But He loves who be more than the perfect worshiper. He loves the returning sinner. The one who acknowledges his or her shortcomings, but keeps coming back, keeps coming back. And so this is, again, you know, this just a beautiful way to look at yourself and to remind yourself that you were created with this intention to be something great and to not let negative thoughts, negative people ever break you down, or comparisons. Comparisons is something across the board all human beings have a problem with. But I think even spiritually it can be a problem if you feel like, oh, I've been Muslim for this long and I'm not where so-and-so is, or I haven't made Hajj, or I don't wear hijab, I don't do this enough, I'm not good enough. These are all waswasa. Waswasa are whisperings from shaitan, right? Negative ruminations. If you ever have like thoughts that just keep coming and coming and they're negative and they're meant to break you down, be certain this is from shaitan. Especially for many of you who are alone on this journey and who don't have that support system. Hopefully that problem will be resolved with groups like this, inshallah. That's our intention. But in the meantime, if you ever have that thought like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing enough, and I'm a loser, and what's the purpose? And these are all from shaitan. That's why you have to remember this ayah and remember the purpose and the intention and the beautiful confidence that our Lord has in who we are, right? And then, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ مُعَلِّمًا. Indeed, I was sent as a teacher. And he's our example, right? And so you mentioned you taught English, right? Anybody else taught anything, whether it was in church, Sunday school, you taught, right? You taught? Isn't it math? Isn't it amazing? I mean, I'm a teacher by profession too, but isn't it, to me, I think the best way to learn something is to teach it, right? It will absolutely stick, right? So we have to see ourselves as teachers too. So I love, that you were saying when you learn something, you teach it to other people. This is reinforcing. It's so important not to let your newness into the faith intimidate you from teaching and from being an advocate of the faith. A lot of times new converts feel like, who am I? I don't know Arabic. I don't know this, I don't know that. And I have to deal with, I hear this a lot, even with people who've been Muslim for a long time. There's this notion that you can only teach something if you have attained this level of knowledge or scholarship. And that's not true. There's hadith where, the Prophet said, even if you know an ayah, you should teach it. A small, short verse. So whatever you know, teach it because it reinforces it for you. So embodying this identity of Allah created me to be something great. Allah created me to teach. This will also help all of us on our journey to reinforce everything that we learned and not let, again, those negative thoughts break us down and make us feel inferior or we're not capable. Okay? Any questions about this point? Yes.
So the L stands for lead?
Yes, to lead.
So how are we leading?
To be teaching, to be leading by example, right? So you either teach or you lead by example. Whatever you learn, when you apply it, you can, teach it. That's people will learn from you. And it's not just about the outward, even greeting people. Like when you walk into a room, and you greet people with that beautiful smile, and you're warm and you're welcoming, and you offer people. This is all our faith. It's all putting our faith into practice. It's all leading by example. These are small things, right, that you can do. And then, other things, of course, if you learn knowledge, if you have any knowledge, use your platform. Social media, for example, alhamdulillah, people use it for different things. Some people are on there, yes, to learn, to teach. Some people are on there to share with family and friends, to promote their businesses. Whatever it is, your intention matters. But I always feel like if you really want to benefit from social media, learn and then teach. So use your platform to share beneficial things. And, you see it all the time. You taking a picture of your meal at a restaurant is great. Yeah. if you want to, share with people, oh, look at the delicious meal I had. But what if you were reading a book at that restaurant and you saw a quote that was really powerful, and it's like, ooh. So that people don't take a picture of the quote, right? And so you kind of look at it like, I always see Islam as a medicine, right? That I am so fortunate, we're all so fortunate that Allah help us, He helped us find this treasure trove of medicine that just heals, right? So for me, it's like, I want to share because I feel like there's so many people out there who are hurting, who are, they need it. So any opportunity to give the medicine, and it doesn't have to be with scripture, right? Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say
please.
that comment because I think sometimes, especially for us when we do, because we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I can't quote you anything out of the Quran. Like I can't say, oh, this ayah, this, because I have no idea.
You're still learning,
You're still learning, but I think for us, it could just be like at work, maybe a coworker has asked me, why do you do this? Or how come you come here this way? just put it back to Allah. Well, I do that because in Islam we're taught da 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 da. So they always know everything is connected. Now the bad stuff that I do, I'll be like, no, that's me. But the good stuff, that's from Allah. So then we can't necessarily give them scriptures like you're saying, but our behavior, especially because we're new, then they be like, wow, you just took your Hosai, you coming in here like this. Maybe I need to take my shot too, you know. Like
exactly.
We could just do it with our actions. Which
Absolutely.
I think that's what Prophet Muhammad
Yes.
that's what he did too. Like he had the scripture obviously, but I think the way that he is, like it described how he was, how he treated people.
Yes.
That also softened people's hearts towards the deen. So we can do the same thing without knowing this is ayah, surah, this is
exactly. Those are limiting thoughts, right? Those are limiting beliefs that I have to only teach if I have the proofs that I have everything memorized and I can say it in Arabic. No, don't. Shaitan, the thing is, a lot of people think Shaitan only inspires to evil. That's not true. He will thwart good with other things. So it's like, so it's not necessarily he's only going to direct you to sin. He could thwart you from good behavior by these limiting thoughts. So that's why you have to be able to identify, no, that's a limiting thought. I'm not going to do that because like you said, I'm now able to just, share whatever I can that's beneficial, that I know benefits me, and I don't need to constantly, confine myself to these strict rules. No, be free, teach, and you'll see the benefits of that, inshallah.
Yeah, to that point, I think Ramadan also opens that up to other people because that's the best time because they ask you all kinds of questions.
So true.
So for me, some of my best moments have been when I have customer meetings and we have lunch and learns and and I'm not eating. They're like, well, why? And then after the meeting, we have like another hour discussion, right? And just kind of go back and forth, and they kind of tell me their experience with Islam when they. I've had a lot of customers that worked in Dubai and a lot of those areas, so they
know and understand.
So they understand that. So it's good to know that Islam expands to all walks of life and everyone can relate to at some point in time in their life with Islam.
That is such a good point. I'm so glad you brought that up because I'm realizing it's so true how Allah kind of facilitates these discussions during the month, right? And you do too. I mean, even myself, I feel like we're so much more proud, and loud about our Islam in Ramadan because it's like, it's Ramadan, and whereas people are usually shy, like, oh, I gotta pray, I have to find a conference room, I do this, but then it's like, when it's in Ramadan, it's like, yeah, I can't fast. Sorry, I can't eat that. And people are like, they don't really think about it, right? And it's similar to, I guess, how in the, in the Christian faith, you also see an uptick from Thanksgiving to Christmas and people being very proud of their Christianity, right? Even if they're not going to church every day, but there's just something about the season that kind of gives people all those good feels and then they spread that out there. So that's a great perspective because it's a great opportunity to, again, work on that sense of ownership, right, of your identity and establishing yourself in your circles with your friends and coworkers, but with that sort of added boost, that Ramadan naturally kind of gives. So thank you for sharing. That was a really good reminder for all of us. MashaAllah. So the last letter here stands for mastery. Okay, and this is obviously the hardest part of the journey because it's the continuous polishing, right, of what's in here, of this heart that extends to the limbs. And this is a lifelong process. Every single one of us, have to do this, no matter, again, where we started. If we started 5 years ago, 3 months ago, 10, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, it doesn't matter. This part of the process never ends until we are in the grave. It's an everyday, upward sometimes battle, right? And it takes persistence, it takes dedication. And if you think about it, it's the most important because it proves our sincerity, right? How do you prove sincerity in anything? In a relationship, for example, if I'm in a relationship with you and I tell you I love you, and you mean everything to me, but then I disappear. And you don't hear from me for months and weeks at a time. How is my sincerity, is my sincerity proven to you? Or the opposite, right? So, in anything, even at work, if I say to my employer, you can count on me, but I'm calling in sick, or I'm, scrolling on my phone when I'm supposed to be at a meeting, right? Chances are I'm probably not going to have my picture, I'm not going to get a plaque at the end of the month. I'm probably going to get a pink slip, right? Because your sincerity is proven with what? Deliberate, constant, continuous action. So that's what we have to constantly remind ourselves, that this is something that you're not going to reach like this peak and then be like, I've arrived, right? I'm finally like all these other people who I see are like what I think are super Muslim. No. There's plenty, that's why there's plenty of hadith that show, the downfall of people who are really high because something went wrong. Maybe they, got spiritually a little too, ahead of themselves, and they thought like, oh, I don't have to work on this. No, this is an everyday process, this constant polishing, right? And so, the Prophet ﷺ said, and how do we do this? So the practice of how do we, improve or work on this mastery is ihsan. Do we know this word, ihsan? Excellence. Very good.
Like not pretend, but you supposed to live, or we, like Allah, like we can see Allah,
Yes.
but we can't, but we know He can see
He
us.
can see us, exactly. So from the hadith of Jibreel, this is also from Imam al-Nawawi's 40 hadith, there's a beautiful exchange that talks about Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. This is where we get this definition of Ihsan. Ihsan is spiritual excellence, right? It's really putting in our best effort in whatever we do. And so really understanding that if you want to achieve mastery over anything, instead of trying to do it all, focus on specific things, get mastery of it, then go to the next, right? So whatever that is, if right now you're in a place where you're like, my prayers, I'm not where I want to be. Maybe I'm not praying on time, maybe I want to work on my Arabic, or just whatever, I'm not doing all 5. Maybe I get really tired at a certain point, or I'm missing one, I continuously. This is normal. All of us have been on this journey. Every single person here has been in this. But how do you focus on perfecting your prayer if you're also trying to do X, Y, Z, or A, B, C, D, and you're trying to do too much? So pacing yourself and not thinking that it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet and I have to hit every single, station. Islam is beautiful and there's a lot to offer, but you don't have to hit every station, okay? Pace yourself and just get really focus on the main course, right? And work on those things important. And of course, we know prayer is the most, right, important. So if that's something that you're struggling with, work on prayer. And then if it's something else, maybe you want to learn tajweed, right, which is the correct pronunciation of the Quran. Maybe you want to start learning how to read Arabic. This can be your next project, right? But I think the pressure of trying to do too much can be very overwhelming. And this is how, again, shaitan can prevent us from really advancing, because like anything, whether you're dieting or trying to, create, some new other habits, whatever it is, if you overwhelm yourself trying to do too much, you're going to stop. It's going to, maybe after a week, you're going to be like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Whereas if you say, you know what, I want to really understand this concept of ihsan and really, be really good at something, so that, alhamdulillah, I can feel pride in that thing. Even if it's 1 or 2 things. If it's something meaningful to me and Allah's facilitated it for me, I want to get just really good at that, and inshallah be continuous and be, and just improve in that. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, he said, Allahu kataba al-ihsanu ala kulli shay, that he prescribed ihsan in all things. So we're not just talking about worship, right? We should as Muslims try to do everything we can with this concept of doing it excellently. And there's a principle, for example, if you come into a space or if you use something, that you leave it better than how you found it. So I like to use the analogy of like a public bathroom. Okay, you walk into sometimes some of these bathrooms and you're like, oh my God, right? Who took a shower here, right? It's like the wudu station is just like soaking wet, paper towels everywhere, the stalls are disgusting. And you know, I'm sure we've all done it before where it's like you walk into one stall, ugh, move on to that, ugh, and then you're like, I can't use the restroom. But if you get to that place where you're like, you know what, who's gonna make the change? Who's gonna make the change? You know, maybe the person who cleans the bathrooms is gone for the night, but maybe there's other human beings that use the restroom. I can sit here and gripe and complain, or I can be a change maker and say, I walked into this, I'm not happy with it, it's disgusting, it's repulsive, it's not my mess, I didn't create it, but if I want to lead by example, I gotta make the change. So maybe take a few minutes, clean up the paper towels, you know, dry the sink a little bit, you know, and obviously you don't need to go get buy a toilet plunger and go straight cleaning the toilets, but you know what I mean? Just whatever you can do in your capacity, if you're, whatever time you have, just to make an improvement, small improvement. This is showing ihsan. It's saying, Allah, I found something unpleasant, unbecoming of Muslims and Islam, and I want to change that. So these are little small things that we can do, but that exhibit this beautiful concept in our faith, right? Alhamdulillah. Any questions?
Sister, the food is ready, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. I think the timing is perfect because we, unless you have any questions, but I hope this was, helpful to you. This 3 simple concepts, and really trying to apply them for all of us. This is advice for all of us in our everyday, inshallah, and then looking forward also for Ramadan. Any questions? Any comments? Yes, please.
I mean, do you have any specific tips on how we can apply this during Ramadan?
Sure. I mean, for prayer, of course, is I think the most important thing that we should be all really striving for, because we have 30 days, and they say habits are made in 40 days, right? So right now until Ramadan, you have 40 days. So we start right now, right? And you say, I want to really work on my prayer. So I'm gonna, if I need to, for example, wake up for Fajr and my alarm isn't working, I need to change the tune of my alarm. I need to buy another alarm, or I need to really just sleep early. Some of us are night owls, and we wonder why we can't wake up for Fajr. Maybe because we're up too late browsing the internet or watching Netflix or whatever we're doing, right? So we need to think about how the life adjustments we can make so that these excuses that, kind of get in the way of our, of us attaining these things, how we can prevent them from happening. So, just prayer, I would say, would probably be the focus that I would say all of us can do, because there's, access, and inshallah, Edlin will be, the point person for this group. So what we can do is maybe create, a mail list or a WhatsApp group, whatever you advise. And if anybody here needs help with prayer, we can, inshallah, maybe arrange a buddy, someone to really help with your prayer, and maybe, just share resources with you. The masjid here, I'm sure, has plenty of resources, but again, we'll facilitate that. But I would say prayer. And then, there's other things too. Bad habits, vices. We all know, you should, by this age, at this point in our lives, we all know ourselves. We know our bad habits, and really trying to examine them from a critical point, not from a point of negativity and looking down at yourself, but again, uplifting yourself and saying, I have to be better, and I want to be better, and I can, Allah's made room for us to return and to draw near Him no matter where we are. So I'm not going to let those negative thoughts get me down. I'm just going to do what I need to do. Okay, so with a positive outlook, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, there is food for all of you. So we'll just end, inshallah, with a quick dua. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Oh Allah, please bless this circle, bless every member here, bless the organizers of this masjid for creating this space for us, inshallah. And bless our Ramadan, bless our families, inshallah, and guide them, open their hearts, ya Allah. Ameen. Jazakumullah khairan.